Hey everyone! My name is Laura Jenkins, librarian at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library. Today you are joining us for our second digital chat about Elizabeth Wein's code that we are reading for October. Please let me know on the Edmodo site if you are able to hear me. If not, we'll try to sort through these that we seem to be going through right now. My internet connection seems to be a little shaky and the app has failed me a couple of times over the past couple of minutes. So together, give me just 2 minutes so that I can finish getting set up. And in the meantime, go over on the Edmodo the question that I typed for you. Let me make sure it actually posted. It looks like it. Oh, the question that I have for all of you is coming from page 174 of code. And the question, well, let me read you a little section from the book first. Actually, it is on page 140. Verity is talking about her friend Maddie, the pilot, and she says, you know, I envied her. I envied her the simplicity of her workness of it. Fly the plane, Maddie. That was all she had to do. There was no guilt, no torment or anguish. Danger knew what she was facing. And I envied that she had chosen her work herself and was doing what she wanted to do. I don't suppose I had any idea, so I was chosen, not choosing. So if you were in the same situation as Maddie and Verity, which of the two jobs would you choose? Would you rather be a spy? Would you rather be a pilot like Maddie? So go ahead and respond to that question. If I can get it typed up on there for you. It looks like it didn't post before. Let me just see if I can really quickly put that up there on for you. If you're just joining us, again, my name is Laura Jenkins. I'm the YA librarian at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library in downtown Coeur d'Alene. And digital chat for codename Verity. We are talking about pages, let me see, when I posted it earlier, we are talking about pages 138 through 203. And we have just finished Verity's section of the book, and very, very interesting new material from a new narrator, and we will learn more about what is going on with that next week. But let me just get this question up on Edmodo, and we will get you started. So just 1 second. I keep wanting to use real name on here, and I know that we just learned it at the end of our section, but I'm trying to still use Verity for everybody that hasn't caught up to the very end of our section yet. So if I ever say Julie instead of saying Verity, know that it is because her real name, or Julie, is what she goes by sometimes. So if I ever, I'm talking about the exact same person. Verity is Julie, is Queenie as well. So just keep that in mind. And just 1 second while I finish writing up this question. Today I'm going to go through and I will post them later on Edmodo for you to respond to over the course of the week. I love the discussion that we're generating on Edmodo. So I'm going to be logging on periodically throughout the coming week between now and our respond to some of those questions. So make sure that you're putting down some really good responses to those. This is a really heavy, really lot of discussion that can come from it. So definitely is something that we are going to want to spend a lot of time talking about. So 1 moment, and hopefully we'll have a couple more viewers that join us. It looks like we have 1 viewer right now, and I believe it's Shelby. So hi, Shelby, welcome back. We're happy to have you. I hope that we get a couple more people minutes. Now you guys get to watch me type for a couple of seconds while I write out this question. a post. And Shelby is asking her own question on Edmodo. She's asking, how many people like this book? I absolutely love Codename Verity. I finished it, and I don't want to give away how I reacted to it. Books from the past. Actually, I was that I have ever read. Like I said before, I absolutely adore books about World War II, particularly about prisoner of war camps, which is kind of what's going on here, and then also about concentration, alluded to at the very end of our section here. So I find that to be incredibly fascinating, and I love this period in American history and also in European history in Europe. But so I absolutely love this book, and then I have also read the companion, Rose Under Fire, and Nick talked about it a little bit in his chat last week, and the research process that Elizabeth Wein, I finally learned how to a little bit about the research process that Elizabeth went through in order to write these two books. She went very, very in-depth with her research for Rose Under Fire at the concentration camp that the book is set in. It's called Ravensbrück, and it's in Europe. I can't remember. I think it's in Austria. It might also be in Poland. I'm not sure. But Ravensbrück, because you can book stays to stay at the concentration camp where people were held. Rose Under Fire takes place, so she actually went through living in the same place where her character Rose is during actually so at the very end of our section, what General von Linden received, or not General, I'm going to butcher this, but Hauptsturmführer von Linden gets a note from von Führer Ferber saying that he needs to transfer his prisoner to the concentration camp immediately, that she is designated as an N and has been seen twice in Hauptsturmführer von Linden's custody, and there is commanding him to send her to Natzweilerstraße. But they is going to be sent to Ravensbrück, which is the concentration camp where Rose Under Fire takes place. So really, really interesting connection book, and you want to continue reading in the same series and hear a little bit more about the characters after the action of Codename Verity finishes. You can find out a little to them in Rose Under Fire. I don't want to give anything away since we have not finished this book yet, and there are some huge plot twists that we have in this, but let's just take a look back at the Edmodo site and see. It looks like Shelby also likes this book. I think that's what she is responding to. I absolutely adore this book. I hope that we have some more people that join us on the chat today. If we have anyone else that is responding. Again, I'm so sorry. My internet is being really, really weird. But let's see. Shelby has responded, and she says she would rather be a pilot guy, even though I have only been on a plane once. That's totally true. I love flying. I think it is one of my favorite ways to travel. I am not a big car traveler, so when I'm just kind of be in the sky and in that kind of element, I absolutely love it. I think that out of the two jobs, I would rather have Julie or Verity or Queen take from her. I really like the idea of being able to create your own character and then kind of act for that. Sorry, let me adjust my camera. Act for that, and I love how she talks about her character Eva in this section, and she kind of realizes that is who she is, and they go crazy. This is a huge deal. They have captured one of the top interrogators of captured Germans, so that is a huge deal for, especially, he kind of gloats about that. I kept her for a reason, and now my superiors are going to be okay with me keeping this girl and not transferring her like I'm supposed to. Obviously, they aren't okay with that. We find out at the end of the section. But a lot, and I'm just going to go through bit by bit, and like I said, I'm going to post the questions for this after the session is done so that you guys can kind of listen in on what I'm talking about with this, and then we can kind of generate a little bit of discussion, and then you'll have time later. It looks like we might have a new post on Edmodo. Shelby is saying, I feel attitude all of the time, definitely in a very difficult situation in the book. She has been captured, and as she tells captured spy, you don't survive. It is a miracle that she has survived for this long in the book. So in this section, into saying that when you're a wireless transfer, so when you're a spy, your estimated lifespan goes down to 6 weeks. You're wireless in whatever location you're spying in, you have 6 weeks before the Germans are able to detect where you are transmitting from. So she says that from the moment that she crashed the plane, she's hit that 6 weeks, and any time beyond that is basically her living on borrowed time. So a very, very interesting perspective right now. One other thing that I wanted to is a post that I made earlier today, and it is in codename Verity. It's a PDF that I uploaded earlier today, and that is something that I did earlier today and wanted to provide the challenges that I encountered when I read this book for the first time was getting into the airplanes that are described in here. I know nothing about machines, and I know that when I get on a plane, it's probably going to be a Boeing when I'm transferred in the country, or form of aircraft that didn't exist during the 1940s when this novel is taking place. So when she's talking about Hudsons, or she's talking about the Lizzies, that they have no idea what those aircraft were, and yes, she does describe them and kind of what they do, but I need a visual for it. So if you take a look at that PDF, it is going to give you a description of all of the different aircraft that are mentioned in this particular 38 to 20. Description of them, give their full name. So for example, the first one that I talk about is the Hudson. It is full name Lockheed Hudson Aircraft. Significant aircraft constructed by the Lockheed Aircraft Corporation and served throughout the war. Hudsons were mostly used for coastal command positions, different coastal areas of England, but they were also used in transport and for delivering agents into occupied France. So a description for what they were used for and why they might be mentioned in Verity's different descriptions and her different entries into basically to the German, her German captors. But then each page also includes a picture of the aircraft, so it kind of gives you some sort of, in the book you can see a little bit more about what aircraft she's actually describing. So go ahead and take a look at that. Found to be helpful, and I hope that you find it helpful as well. We're just going to move a little bit by little bit through this. One of the very first things that I talked about was that first question asking you which job you would rather have out of the two. So whether you would rather be a pilot or whether you be a spy, which are Maddie and Julie or Verity or Queenie's jobs in the story. So let's start off on page 140, and that's where we kind of had that that question come from. But then around the middle of the page, let's pull that quote from. Verity says, "There's glory and honor in being chosen, but not much room for free will." So she's kind of describing that between the fact that she's kind of being controlled and she doesn't really have a whole lot of say in I'm going to have to look at that I has a bucket thing, Shelby. Thanks for posting that. But she doesn't have a whole lot of control over the things that she's able to do in her position, but she is able to put her own flair into it, thus the, creation of Eva as her alternate interrogation but she loves the freedom that Maddie has from being a pilot. She's basically able to her own life as she's going on, and she gets called in for missions, but she doesn't have to put her gray area that Julie has to explore as a spy. So describing some of the different interrogations that she's done, she flat out says, I lied to this person. I pretended to be somebody that I was not. I appealed to his patriotism. I called on his motherland, calling it my own, and tricked him into believing this. And you can tell that that doesn't, but she still does it. And obviously she still has to go through those dangerous situations that Maddie, yes, has danger, but not that same personal sense of danger that you get from being one-on-one in a room with an enemy soldier. This section explains and describes one of her interrogations where somebody didn't believe her alternate personality, her Eva guise. So she was actually almost strangled by him. And then she goes and talking, and Maddie sees all of these bruises and scars on her neck and on her arms and everything, and she kind of breaks down to Maddie, just saying, you know, like, I don't know how I'm able to do this. And Maddie is able to comfort her, which is, you know, again, falls on that. It's kind of like falling in love, finding your best friend, which is the whole theme of this book, and one of my absolute favorite quotes. But showing again that really deep friendship that she and Maddie were able to develop for each other. And so we're just going to kind of, was just an absolutely wonderful point that Julie made in that paragraph on page 140. There's glory and honor in being chosen, but not much room for free will. So definitely showing that kind of that challenge that she has within herself. Okay, and she kind of goes the same line, saying on page 149, she's describing this new shipment of things that came in from France when they had a mission over there and rescued a couple of different prisoners. And have on the top of page 149 an unlimited supply of Chanel No. 5, which is a perfume, just in case you didn't know, or freedom. And she's also talking about her situation in France, and they have all of these different French luxuries around them, and obviously she doesn't have access to them as a prisoner. People of France have these things around them, but they are controlled by the, well, which would you rather have the freedom that comes with being in a free land like England or like the United States or like one of the Allied countries versus the Axis? So that's just definitely going to be a question that I pose to you. Which would you rather have? Luxuries and all of the different things, privileged location, but being in captivity, or would you rather have the freedom that comes with living maybe in a war-torn country, but still being able to make your own decisions? So that's another question that you can definitely respond to that on want to. It looks like we're still at 1 viewer, so I hope we'll kind of plow through this and just take a lot of looks at different. Strongly don't like Hitler a lot. I don't know that there are many people, honestly, in the world, especially today, that do have sort of positive sentiments towards Hitler. Of course, I could be speaking incorrectly, and maybe there is a group of people that find him to be, I don't know, incredibly persuasive, despite being a man. All right, so we're just going to keep moving on page 150. Verity says, I can never decide if it is worth it. It was a truly hilarious moment, but this time is a totally unexpected collusion between Engel and Thibault. And what she is talking about is when she comes in and surprises Anna Engel, who is sitting and looking through her notes and passages at the bottom of 149 if you want to follow along. What happened was that this morning, poor Fraulein Engel was sitting at the table with her back to the door, busily numbering my countless recipe cards, and I frightened the living daylight in a deep stentorian voice of command and discipline. Achtung, Anna Engel. Heil Hitler! And that's my horrible German for you, sorry. She catapulted to her feet and must have nearly dislocated her shoulder. I've never seen her look so white around the gills, and smacked me so hard she knocked me over. When Thibault picked me up, she smacked me. Wow, 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 is my jaw sore. I suppose they're not planning another phony interview. I can never decide if it is worth it, this moment. But all I seem to have achieved this time is a totally unexpected collusion between Engel and Thibault. Did I call them Laurel and Romeo and Juliet? This is flirting, all like Gestapo underlings. So she's kind of describing these little moments of yes, she is in captivity, and yes, she is in very harsh circumstances, but she takes every moment that she possibly can in order to rebel, and this is one of them. And a question that I'm going to have for you later and that you can definitely respond to right now, I'm going to keep saying that, sorry, is it worth it? These little moments of rebellion that don't think better for Julie's situation, is it worth it for her to do these little acts of rebellion in order to feel a little bit better but receive the pain from? So respond to that if you want to, Shelby, online. And definitely everyone, if you're able to log in later this week and join us, do so and respond to these questions. I'm just going to refresh my page here on Edmodo to all of the different comments that have been posted. Hopefully it will refresh. Okay. Moments. So I will just keep going with the different points that I have from this section. All right, so that was an incredibly important point that was made in this chapter, and a really great question to just ask yourself: is it worth it that Julie can possibly have? So skip ahead a little bit through some of these different sections, and I wanted to just read descriptions for when they are flying over France. And it's when Maddie takes her first unauthorized, technically, flight into France as the co-navigator, who is one of the pilots that is basically ferrying soldiers for either covert for covert operations or actually just to scout out the different German locations. So this is on page 157. Now they were over the Eastern Normandy. The Seine's loop shone like a great unwinding spool of silver mesh off the port wingtip. Maddie gasped at the river, and all at once she found herself spilling childish tears, not just for her own besieged island, England, but for all of Europe, fearfully and thoroughly unraveled. There were no lights over France. It was as blacked out as Britain. Europe's lamps had all gone out. "What's that?" she gasped into the air at the same time and banged sharply away. He began to circle, a hair too steeply at first, then with steadier rudder control. Below and ahead of them, there was a rectangular white light decorating an otherwise black. "That's where the last pinpoint is supposed to be," Michael told her. "Some pinpoint. It's jolly well operational if it is." "No," said the pilot slowly as he circled back and got another look. "No, I think it's a prison camp around the perimeter fence to catch anyone trying to get out." And I thought that description of France to be so peaceful and so serene and so beautiful, and then all of a sudden interrupted by this prison camp that they discover, really illustrates what happened during World War II. You take this beautiful setting, this beautiful country, basically, and you set it into what could be otherwise an entirely normal and ordinary and beautiful place, and then you put this one piece of blight, just kind of interrupts and ruins an entire setting that could be shared by everyone. Illustrated for me at pilot, then be a spy, things like this to experience, and you have that freedom of being able to see all of these different areas and seeing all of these different things. And let me just check to see, looks like we do. Shelby says that she thinks all of those little acts of defiance that Julie is doing are going to die. Why not have fun, even if it is at your own cost? That's true. And why not act out in any sense of rebellion that you possibly can, in any way that you possibly can, because you know there, I mean, you're probably not going to make it out of this. So definitely a good point to make. Thank you, Shelby, for bringing that up, and thanks for responding to the questions. Okay, so moving right along, it looks like we only have about 4 minutes left. I always run out of time on these. Okay, so they talk about Julie and her encounter with the prisoner that she was interrogating, and he attacked her, and that was the incident that really told them, oh, she's ready to go into France, even though she didn't. On page 165, she even admits this. She says, they took the nerves. Okay, I forgot to change my hair back to normal when I changed my clothes. I don't have a uniform for interrogations. The hair was a small mistake. They took the nerves of steel into account, but not the small mistake. They didn't notice that he'd hurt me, and they didn't notice what that I do make fatal. Do you think that Julie, to some extent, blames them? The Machiavellian intelligence officer that she talks about all the time but never gives a name to. Do you think that she blames them for her current situation and for basically a more dangerous mission when they should have known she wasn't ready? So that's another question that I'm going to be posing to you later. I have really great stuff that I want to talk about in this section, but we are just running out of time. So I'm going to skip ahead to page 174 and just wanted to point. Let's see. Okay, on the top of page 174, she reiterates that a lot of the different allusions, a lot of the different code names that are taken by characters in this are Peter Pan names. Chose Peter Pan for the names of the characters. Do you think that was intentional on the author's choice? And if so, what is it about Peter Pan, perfect play, book, everything, for her to take character names from? What is it about Peter Pan that is special and that ties into Julie's story entirely? So that's going to be a question that I that I'll respond to now if you want to, Shelby, or we can definitely keep going on this. All right, so one other point, just a little fun fact for you, because I'm a World War II nerd beyond belief. Lower down on that page, Julie is talking about Operation Dog Star, which is the one that got her trapped in France. And she says, I wonder how many piles of paper like my only testament to our silenced voices, buried in filing cabinets and steamer trunks and cardboard boxes as we disappear, as we vanish into the night and fog. Night and fog in German is Nachtnebel. Nebel was actually an operation that the Germans were to round up rebels and members of the resistance, of the French resistance, and then also spies that they suspecting among their own people in France and then in other countries around Europe that they had taken over. So when she says night and fog, she is this sort of operation that was going on from the Nazis called Nachtnebel. Mentions it later in this chapter 2. The very last thing that we have to talk about, because we have gotten to the end of Verity's account, and I'm not going to say the names because I cannot pronounce them. That Flight Officer Beaufort Stewart is a designated NN prisoner. She has been seen twice in your custody, and I will be forced to take weapons again. I recommend you send her at once to Notzweiler Struthof as a specimen, with the order that she be executed by lethal injection drives the experimentation. If you show this devious little liar 1 atom's worth of compassion, I will have you shot. So we find out that von Linden has been keeping Julie alive and has been keeping her at his particular prison location. Do you think he has risked his life in order to keep her in his facility, particularly after reading that if she goes to this camp, and particularly after reading the bit that Julie includes about his daughter Isolde that we read earlier? Why do you think von Linden? Do you think it's been for his own gain? Do you think that he has been waiting for her to reveal something like, I am here from the British? Or do you think that he might have some other motivation? So all of these questions on Edmodo for you to respond to later in this week. Hopefully we have a couple other people that are going to view this archived digital chat so that they can respond to these questions on Edmodo later. My name, again, is Laura Jenkins, and I'm the YA librarian down at the Coeur d'Alene Public Library. We are going to see you next week on, I believe it is the 22nd. But anyway, next Thursday on the 22nd at 4:30, from 4:30 to 5 for our next digital chat. Hopefully we have a special guest that will be joining us for that digital chat. Positive that she will be able to make it yet. I will see you again next week. We'll talk a little bit more about the section that we just read because I didn't finish everything that I wanted to talk about, and we'll also talk about the new, if you looked ahead a couple pages, you will see that we have now started on Part 2, which is Kitty Hawk. And I will say no more than that. These are going to be incredibly exciting chapters that are coming up. So I hope you are all sticking with us. I know this is a very difficult book. I know this has a lot of language. I know this has a lot harsher of content, but I think it is such an important book for us to read. It is so important that we learn as much as we can about this period in history so that we never again repeat the mistakes that happened. So thank you everyone for joining me. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your week. Have a great weekend, and keep reading Codename Verity. And if you finish Codename Verity Rose Under Fire, I am telling you, it is so good. It is so worth reading. And if you have finished Codename Verity and have already read Fire and you're looking for something else, Elizabeth Wein actually just published this past spring another book. It's called Black Dove, White Raven. A pair of girls that are believed during apartheid, but I'm not positive. But it is supposed to be just as wonderful and just as thoroughly researched as Codename Verity and Rose Under Fire. To you. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us. I'm sorry that I always go over time, but I just get so excited talking about these books. I will see you next time. Have a fantastic weekend.